What?
The overcomers are basically yelling and saying, hey, there's pagan stuff going on here. What's going on? Let's not do that. But they're blind and sleeping, and well, that's what they are. They're dreaming. But that word heavenly calling that we talked about earlier, that's something that Paul talked about. It's a high calling. And it's a kind of a code word. There's a lot of code words. And it's a heavenly calling to the marriage supper of the Lamb. That's what we're being called to. He wants everyone to come. And he sends out people to go get the friends and the relatives. And the friends and the relatives, they say, whoops, I'm a little busy. He says, what? They're not coming. Well, go out and get somebody else. Go and get these people that are like over here. We don't even know who they are. Let's bring them in here. And the message is going out. The Basora is going out. And they say, well, okay. Some of them come, some of them don't. Then he says, well, look, it's not full enough. Let's get some more. So he sends them out and he says, look, pick people up. I don't care who they are, how dirty they are. Get them. Go out there and grab them. So we're out there doing that. And we're saying, boy, you're really a mess. But I'd like to tell you something. Would you like to come to a wedding supper? And some of them are going to say, wow, I didn't ever think I'd be able to go there. Well, sure, I'm in there. And so they come, and they put on righteousness before they come, the garments of righteousness. The wedding supper is the righteousness of the saints, the clothing, the white robes. And some of them are not going to be cleaned up properly, and they're not going to get it. They're going to get thrown out. But in Hebrews 3, we see something very interesting. Therefore, set apart brothers, partakers of the heavenly calling, closely consider the emissary and high priest of our confession, Messiah Yahusha, who actually his very first miracle that we have on record was at a wedding festival. Remember when he changed the water into wine? And so anyway, the Christians have a misunderstanding of the processes. They have a general understanding, but they don't know that there's two resurrections because they've confused the two of them. They seem to be getting the two things mixed up. Eschatology, which is the Greek word for the extreme end days, is explaining that there's really two resurrections. And the first resurrection is the special resurrection of Yahuwah's treasured possession. And it involves a book of remembrance. Those people are meditating upon the name that's in Malachi chapters 3 and 4. And and he notices it. And they're speaking to one another, saying, hey, let's study his name. And then a book of remembrance pops up. But he's not going to reveal his name or give his name to those that are still living in Egypt. If you're not going to repent and return to his covenant, then he's not going to make his name mean a thing to you. He's going to have you saying, well, it doesn't really matter what we call him. I mean, he's got thousands of names. Let me show you. They open up the book and they've got a page where it lists the names of God. What? But they can't find anything like that in the text. Anyway, the book of remembrance involves the first fruits, and that would be the first resurrection, those going to the wedding feast. And they're also called wise managers. They're the remnant. They're the chosen ones, the overcomers, and he also calls them my kind ones. The millennium is the 1,000 years. And there's at the end of that, there's the general resurrection at the great white throne judgment, and it involves the scroll of life. See? Now, the book of remembrance, let's think about that. Let's read a little bit about that in Malachi chapter 3. Starting at verse 16, it says, then those who fear Yahuwah speak to one another, and Yahuwah listen and hear, and a book of remembrance be written before him of those who fear Yahuwah and those who think upon his name. And they shall be mine, said Yahuwah of hosts, on the day that I prepare a treasured possession, and I shall spare them as a man spares his own son who serves him. Then you shall see the difference between the righteous and the wrong, between one who serves Elohim and one who does not serve him. That's pretty amazing. Now, Luke 12, starting at verse 40, says, "And you then be ready, for the Son of Adam is coming at an hour you do not expect." And Cephas said to him, "Master, do you speak this parable to us, or also to all?" Now, that's a good question to ask. He was inspired to ask that. Now, here's the answer. And the master said, "Who then is the trustworthy and wise manager, whom his master shall appoint over his household, to give the portion of food," that's teachings, "in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his master shall find so doing when he comes." Now that's just blazing wisdom right there, in the context that we are looking at. People blur these two resurrections because here's what the remnant is going to be faced with in the first resurrection. Only first fruits, the first fruits dead, are raised at one trumpet, followed by those alive in Mashiach, gathered to meet Yahushua in the air as he returns, and they reign with him for 1,000 years. And of course we're teaching. The flesh that's left over reproduces, and they're being taught about all that's been before and what lies ahead. So they're going to have a real advantage because the dragon won't be there. Now, in the second resurrection, this is at the end of the millennial reign. That's at the end of the 1,000 years. All the dead are raised. That's what Peter was talking about when he said, "Do you say this to us or to all?" See, Yahushua is very distinct. Now, all the dead are raised at the second great white throne judgment, and those whose names are in the scroll of life inherit life. Those not in the scroll are cast alive into the lake of fire with the dragon and his Malachim, the beast and the false prophet. Actually, the beast and the false prophet are the first to go into the lake of fire at Yahushua's coming. That's one of the things we'll find out later too, because the beast and the false prophet are already in the lake of fire for 1,000 years before the dragon gets put there. So the Christians that are being taught by their leaders that somebody might or might not be in hell, they're wrong, because the lake of fire, no one goes into the lake of fire except for the beast and the false prophet at Yahushua's return. So nobody's in the lake of fire yet. And then at the end of 1,000 years, a whole lot of people and Malachim and the dragon will go in. Because see, the dragon's not going into the lake of fire. He's not there now. A lot of people think that's where he is because they're taught by sound bites. Now, in the prophet Joel, his real name is Yael, chapter 2, 32, it says, "And it shall be that everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be delivered. For on Mount Sion and in Jerusalem there shall be an escape, as Yahuwah has said, and among the survivors whom Yahuwah calls." Now, Shaul, or Paul, actually was unsure of the high calling. Now, that high calling is a code word for, as we mentioned, the first resurrection. Now, let's look at Philippians chapter 3, starting at verse 10. "To know him," that's Yahushua, "and the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his sufferings, being conformed to his death, if somehow I might attain to the resurrection from the dead. Not that I have already received or already have been perfected, but I press on to lay hold of that for which Messiah Yahushua has also laid hold of me. Brothers, I do not count myself to have laid hold of it yet, but only this, forgetting what is behind and reaching out for what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the high calling of Elohim in Messiah Yahushua. As many, then, as are perfect should have this mind. And if you think differently in any respect, Elohim shall also reveal this to you." See, he's referring to the first resurrection. He's not doubting his salvation. He just doesn't know if he's going to be in the first resurrection, which is so amazing, because we all look up to Paul as a leader. He's taught us so much. Now, the first resurrection is an elite group. These are the first fruits, according to Revelation 14:4, those obeying the commands of Yahuwah and holding to the testimony of Yahusha. And this is the elite group mentioned in Malachi 3:16 through 18. This automatically eliminates most of the living and the dead. Orthodox rabbis who don't hold to Yahusha, and Christians who don't obey the 10 Commandments, and all the rest of humanity that disobey or disregard or ignore the covenant and Yahusha's atoning blood offering for their sins. He gave his blood and they don't even care? There's going to be 2 resurrections, though. That's the thing. The first resurrection in review is the first fruits, the wise managers. They're the ones, and it's a small group. It's not a big group. They're the first fruits. And the second resurrection is going to be at the great white throne judgment 1,000 years later.
What?